the Bhagavad Gita. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadhi Tamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We looked at the first 5 shlokas of the 15th Adhyaya. The 12th and the 15th Adhyaya are the shortest with just 20 shlokas each. The 12th talks in great detail about the qualities of an ideal bhakta. And the 15th is, starts off with the metaphor of the Ashwatha Vriksha. We saw the fifth shloka, so let's go to the next one. He says, Natad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. We've seen this idea earlier as well, that neither the sun nor the moon nor fire can illuminate that state, the great, the highest state. So earlier we saw that, the highest eternal goal, avyayam padam gachanti, he says, right? You reach the highest goal. So what is this highest goal? It is something that is so luminous that neither the sun nor the moon nor fire can illuminate that state. And it is verily my supreme abode. Having gone there, you will not return. So it is not a place, once you reach that highest level, once the mind has been expanded to that extent, then you are not going to come back to the old state of narrowness and pettiness. Suryaha tat na bhasayate. So that's something that the sun cannot illuminate. Na shashankaha, neither the moon. Na pavakaha, nor the fire. So basically it's a metaphorical thing that is so self-luminous that no external light can further illuminate. It's already so bright. So none of these external things can illuminate that state. Yat gatva, having attained which, na nivartante, there is no question of coming back. You have reached the highest level. That mama paramam dhama, it is my supreme abode. So the state of Brahman, the supreme being, or realization with Brahman, is the supreme abode. It is self-luminous. It is beyond all light. And once you attain that state, no force can pull you away. Because that's how a realization works, right? See, if you remember somebody's phone number, after 3 days, you may forget it. It's a factual information. But when it is a value, when you have experienced something, the chances of that remaining in your memory is greater. When you are experiencing the highest state, then there is no question of you going back. It is, you have realized something. For example, once you know how to swim, or once you know how to ride a cycle, if you are put on a cycle, there's no way you will not have balance. You will balance because you have learned that. A person who doesn't have balance will necessarily fall. A person who has learned cycling, who knows the balance, it is very difficult for him if he wants to fall down. He has to intentionally try it. It's not very easy. You will balance yourself. Similarly, you will, when you're thrown into the water, unless you really want to commit suicide, maybe you will drown. But I don't think a good swimmer will try to drown in water to commit suicide, because he would have naturally skilled to save himself. So he has to try something else. But the point I'm trying to make is that when something becomes a value, becomes integral part of your system, the chances of you forgetting that are very less. It becomes a part of you. So you will do it in that manner. Right? So, na tad bhasayate suryo.
Sorry. Na tad bhasayate suryo.
Na shashanko pavakaha.
Na shashanko na pavakaha.
Yad gatva na nivartante.
Yad gatva na nivartante.
Tad dhama paramam mama.
Tad dhama paramam mama.
Thank you. Suresh ji is always in some exotic location.
Sorry, I just came I was outside. I just came.
No, it's very nice always to see a greenery in the background. Then he says, Mamaivamsho jivaloke jiva bhutah sanatanah mana shashtanindriyani prakritisthani karshati. So the uh, the fraction of my eternal self exists as the individual soul in the world of beings, and abiding in Prakriti, it attracts towards itself the 6 indriyas, that is the 5 jnanendriyas, the sense organs, and the mind. So, Jiva Loke, in the world of men, in the world of living beings, Mama Sanatanaha Amsha Eva Jiva Bhutaha. So, an amsha, an essence, or a fraction of Sanatana, the eternal self, Eva Jiva Bhutaha, that becomes the individual soul in this world of beings. And that Prakritisthani, it is abiding. Prakritisthani, these are abiding in Prakriti, in nature, in material nature and in the environment. Prakritisthani, Manaha Shashtani Indriyani. The Manas Shashtani Indriyani Karshati, it attracts the mind and the 5 senses. So Shashta is 6. So 6 is basically the 5 senses plus the mind. So the fraction of the Supreme Self exists in the individual soul. Exists as the individual soul in this world of beings, and it abides in Prakriti, attracts towards itself the 5 sense organs and mind. Mamaivamsho jivaloke.
Mamaivamsho jivaloke.
Jiva bhuta sanatanaha.
Jiva bhuta sanatanaha.
Manaha shashtani indriyani.
Manaha shashtani indriyani.
Prakritisthani karshati.
Prakritisthani karshati.
Shariram yad avapnoti yad chapyutkramatishvaraha grihitvaitani samyati vayur gandha nivashayat. Another beautiful, important shloka. When one acquires a body or departs from it, the master within carries these senses just as the wind carries scents from one place to another. This is Ishvaraha, the Lord of the, like the Atma in this case, Ishvaraha, the master, the Lord. Yat shariram avapnoti. Yat cha api utkramati. So when it takes on a new body. So we have seen earlier, right? When the old clothes are discarded and new clothes are worn, the Atma discards the old Sharira, takes on a new Sharira. That's the idea of the rebirth and the cycle of Janma and Punarjanma and so on. So here, when the Atma takes on Yat Shariram Avapnoti, takes a new body, Yat Api Utkramati, when it departs from it, Vayuhu Ashayat Gandhaniva Etani Grihitva Samyati. So the manner in which it does is like the wind carrying some scents from one place to another. So what is the basic idea of the shloka is that when we are born, we acquire this body, and when we die, we depart from this body. Then the Atma attains another body. But the Atma, which is the eternal witness, carries the vasanas or the past baggages from earlier births. So when we are born, we are not born with a clean slate. Now, I think we have discussed about this idea of rebirth a couple of times in the past. When we look at the world around us from our own experience, we see that when young children have certain innate abilities which are not taught to them. Different children have different kinds of ability. In fact, my co-author, Dr. Sri Krishna, always says that every child is an experiment in life. So when we see children, everybody we see sometimes extraordinary talent in a 3-year-old. How do you explain that extraordinary talent in a 3-year-old with where now okay, you can say maybe both the parents are musicians and then the 3-year-old is also very good in music. That may be some explanation, we don't know. But sometimes children without any background in the family, without any nurturing environment pushing them in that direction, they naturally pick up certain things based on their innate aspect. Now today we say that it's probably a genetic thing which is picked up over time. We don't know. Even today we don't have an explanation for that. The ancient people, they had this idea that it was possibly because of this carrying something from a previous birth. So again, it's a belief. It's not some scientific fact. You should not think of it like a trying to derive a equation or a proof. But this idea of rebirth and the idea of remembering the past life, we see in some of the stories. Even today, some past life regression. Again, these are all based on belief because there is no way to prove or disprove these things, right? When it is one very important rule of thumb that is given to us by the world of science is that if there is a theory that cannot be falsifiable, either something has to be right or something has to be wrong in the world of physics, in the world of matter. If you cannot falsify something, then you cannot apply the scientific method. So if somebody comes to me and says, oh, last night in my dream, I had a vision of Krishna, there is no way for me to prove or disprove it. It is purely based on whether I trust the person or I don't trust the person. So that doesn't come into the realm of science at all. Similarly, when it comes to rebirth, it does not come into the realm of science, except the point that we are unable to explain why certain children have certain tendencies. So the notion is that we are carrying some baggage from the past. So therefore, when we receive some natural talent from birth, right, we are very skilled in something. We accept that as with gratitude as something which is a result of good deeds in the past. If we are born with some deficiency, we accept that also with a humility, saying that maybe it's a result of some bad deeds I did in the past. But what is really happening is that it is supposed to motivate us to continue to do good things or to start doing good things in this life now. From the time you realize, you start doing things which are positive, which are good, which are helpful. So the idea is that in the next birth, you will be born at a higher level. You won't have to struggle so much. So basically, what is the idea? Any of these beliefs are working towards making today's life better here and now. And if it is not doing that, then such a belief is not valuable. Now, because this Punarjanma, Karma theory, all these things are so helpful to common people, especially to common people, to also to all of us. But when people don't have the time and bandwidth to get into this whole Jnana Yoga or even study Bhagavad Gita or any of these things, the common man in India has this notion of, if I do good things, I will get a good result. So some of these things of Gita have percolated to the most common person who is absolutely uneducated, illiterate as well, will know this. And therefore, that's a very, very great support for the entire civilization. That if we do good things, we will have a better quality of life. In the future, I may do better. In the next birth, I will be better. So that drives people to lead a good quality life here and now. So that's the importance of this. Shariram yadavapnoti.
Shariram yadavapnoti.
Yachapyutkramatishvaraha.
Yachapyutkramatishvaraha.
Grihitvaitani samyati.
Grihitvaitani samyati.
Vayurgandhani vashayat.
Vayurgandhani vashayat.
He says, Shrotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam ghranam evacha adishthaya manaschayam vishayan upasevate. So through the mind, the ear, the eye, the organs of touch, smell and taste, the Atman experiences the sensations. So Shrotram, ears, chakshuhu, eyes, sparshanam, touch or the skin, rasanam, taste, the tongue, and ghranam, the smell or the organ of smell, the nose, cha manaha, and the mind. cha adishthaya ayam eva vishayan upasevate. So through this, based in these sense organs and the mind, through these tools, the Atman experiences the sensations of sound, smell, taste, touch, sight, and thought. So the worldly pleasures and pains are experienced by the Atman through these. If there was no sense organs, if there was no mind, then there is no way for the Atman to experience this. Atman is a witness, but it is also we have seen, it is the approver, it is the witness, it is the supporter, nourisher. We saw all that, right? So for it to experience, when we call it the bhoktra, how does it enjoy this pleasure, or how does it suffer the pain? How does it experience this pleasure and pain? Through the five sense organs and the mind. Shrotram chakshuhu sparshanam cha.
Shotram chakshuhu sparshanam cha.
Rasanam ghranam eva cha.
Rasanam ghranam eva cha.
Adhishtaya manaschayam.
Adhishtaya manaschayam.
Vishayan upasevate.
Vishayan upasevate.
Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. So the deluded people, the foolish people, they fail to perceive the Atman residing, entering, or departing the body. They also fail to see that the Atman enjoying the sensations as well as being impacted by the gunas. But those with the eye of wisdom perceive this. So vimudha, the foolish, the deluded, the people who have clouded with ignorance. Utkramantam sthitam va api bhunjanam gunanvitam va na anupashyanti jnana chakshushaha pashyanti. So vimuda, the foolish, utkramantam sthitam va api bhunjanam. So the Atman, which is departing, or it is staying or entering, this idea of the Atman and the Sharira, they don't understand this. They don't perceive that the Atman is the one taking on the body, it is the one residing in the body, and when it leaves the body, and Gunanvitam, it is it is being impacted by the gunas. So whatever the gunas, the inherent qualities, it is impacting this Atman. So na anupashyanti. So they do not perceive, they fail to perceive the Atman. Whereas jnana chakshushaha, those with the eye of wisdom, they see it. Right? Now, we have seen earlier in the 13th chapter that when associated with Prakriti, Purusha experiences the gunas that arise from Prakriti, and that attachment to the gunas is the cause for rebirth. Whether it's for better or for worse, it is the cause for rebirth. We saw this earlier. Now, person who has got this eye of wisdom, what does it mean, eye of wisdom? Basically, it means this person is able to perceive the Atman at all times. This person who has got the eye of wisdom is recognizing that the Atman is residing in the body. The Atman is the main aspect of our self. The body is just a upadhi. It's just an external, it is a tool. Just like we are using a computer or a hammer or a pen or mobile phone as a tool to accomplish something. The Atma using the body is a tool. It's just a mechanism which is in place to ultimately realize itself. That idea is, of course, realization, but the body also is seen as a conjunct, as a secondary thing. But it's not always possible, because when we feel pleasure and pain, we are more thinking of body, we forget about Atman. That is what is the state of people like us who are vimudha. But the ones with jnana chakshusha always perceive the Atman. So naturally, their behavior is different. The way in which they accept reality is different. Utkramantam sthitam vapi.
Utkramantam sthitam vapi.
Bhunjanam va gunanvitam.
भुञ्जानं वा गुणान्वितं
विमूढ़ा नानुपश्यन्ति
विमूढा नानुपश्यन्ति
पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः
पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः
यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्त चेतसः. So those who strive with discipline, yatatmas, they see the fraction of the supreme situated in their own self. But those who are selfish and insensitive, they are unable to perceive this. However much they try, they may put efforts, but if they don't let go of that selfishness and that insensitivity, it is not possible for them to see the higher thing, higher Atman. So, yatantaha, the ones who strive with discipline and focus, yoginaha, the yogis who are disciplined, cha enam atmani avasthitam pashyanti. So, they see this Atman, this fraction of the Supreme Self, which is described in the previous shloka, they see this Atman situated in themselves. They perceive the Atman. Yatantaha api, even though they try, akritatmanah achetasah enam na pashyanti. So here, both are striving with discipline. Okay. So yatantaha yoginaha, and here yatantaha api. So even though these people are trying, so both of them are trying hard, they're striving with discipline, but akritatmanaha achetasaha, the people who are selfish, who are too full of themselves, who are insensitive to the reality, they fail to see anything else. They are preoccupied with lower motives. So therefore, they miss out on the higher ideals. Now, the first thing which is required when we want to advance spiritually is to slowly let go of the material. But if you're clinging on to the material world so much, it is not possible to have your hands free to go towards the spiritual, to accept the spiritual world, right? So this, when people are very full of themselves, a bloated ego, or they are very attached to their wealth and physical aspects, then the chances of moving up spiritually become more and more, there's less and less chance of elevation. So they may be trying very hard, but the point is, when you are not prepared thoroughly, however hard you may try, it's like, for example, there are two people who are trying to run a 100-meter dash. One of them is not wearing anything, maybe he's just wearing some sneakers. The other person has tied a huge 10 kg weights to his legs. However hard he tries, he cannot even move a few steps forward. So the material world, the attachments are like that. It's like like a block of thing tied to your leg. However hard you try, you cannot go. Whereas somebody who's just wearing sneakers, who doesn't have the attachment, can easily run forward. So similarly, both of them are striving hard, but the one who is disciplined and who is a yogi, that means who is connected with the Supreme Being, which means that he is detached from the material world, he can realize the Atman. Whereas the other person, although he is striving, because of selfishness, because of insensitiveness, attachments, is not able to perceive the Atman. Yatanto yoginaschainam pasyantyatmanyavasthitam yatantopyakritatmano correct. Kritatmanaha. Then nainam pashyantachetasaha. Correct. Akritatmano nainam it becomes. When you split it, it will become akritatmanaha. Right. Then yad aditya gatam tejo jagat bhashayate khilam yat chandramasi yat chagnau tat tejo vidhi mamakam. The radiance of the sun that lights up the entire world, the radiance in the moon and fire, am the source of all that radiance. Yet Adityagatam Tejaha, the brightness, the radiance of the sun, Akhilam Jagat Bhasayate, it lights up the whole world. Yet Chandramasi Yacha Agno. So the light of the moon and the light of Agni. Tat Tejaha Mamakam Vidhi. Know that radiance to be mine. So this kind of is reminiscent of the Vibhuti Yoga and the Vishwarupa, especially Vibhuti Yoga, right? So, like I have said earlier, the Gita is a conversation between two people. It is not a textbook. It is not organized by chapter. It's not organized by topic. That the simple things come first, then the difficult things, then even more difficult thing. It is not organized like that at all. Because in the second adhyaya itself, just after the Ashotya and Vashochastam, the first thing he talks about is this, the Atma and the highest things. If somebody can understand those 10, 15 verses itself, that's enough. You don't need the rest of the Gita. So sometimes it is not organized in that manner, simple and straight and then difficult. So this we can easily put it off into the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. Yad Aditya Gatam Tejo.
Yadaditya tejo.
Jagat Bhasayate Khilam.
Jagat bhasayate khilam.
Yat Chandramasi Yat Chagnau.
Yat chandramasi yat chagnau.
Tat Tejo Vidhi Mamakam.
Tat tejo vidhi mamakam.
Gamavishyacha Bhutani Dharayamyaham Ojasa Pushnami Chaushadhihi Sarvaha Somo Bhutva Rasatmakaha. So, entering the earth, I support all creatures with my energy, becoming the life-giving sap. I nourish all plants and herbs. Again, this one more verse which is very similar to the Vibhuti Yoga. Aham Gam Avishya Cha Ojasa Bhutani Dharayami. So I enter the earth and Bhutani, I support Dharayami, I support all the Bhuta, that is all the beings, by Ojas, by Ojasa, Ojasa is by my energy, by my kind of brilliance, strength. And Rasatmakaha Somaha Bhutva, becoming the life-giving sap. So the moon is said to be, the moon Soma is said to be the source of all sap. Rasatmakaha Somaha Bhutva, becoming that life-giving sap. Sarvaha Aushadhi cha Pushnami. So I nourish all plants and herbs. So here Aushadhi refers to plants and herbs. And because in Ayurveda, the plants and herbs were the source of medicine, the word Aushadhi also was later used to denote medication, medicines. Even in Kannada and Hindi and all that we say Aushadhi. But actually Aushadhi is the herbs, the plants. Again, straightforward shloka. Gamavishya bhutani.
Gamavishya bhutani.
Dharayamyaham ojasa.
Dharayamyaham ojasa.
Pushnami chaushadhi sarvaha.
Pushnami chaushadhi sarvaha.
Somo bhutva rasatmakaha.
Somo bhutva rasatmakaha.
Next, he says, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashratah Pranapana Samayuktaha Pacham Yannam Chaturvidham. So all these shlokas are reminiscent of the Vibhuti Yoga. Having entered the bodies of all creatures as the digestive fire and working along with the inward and outward breaths, I digest the 4 kinds of food. So he says, Aham Vaishvanaraha, I am the digestive, Aham Vaishvanaraha Bhutva, having become the Vaishvanara, the digestive fire, Praninam, Deham, in the body of all beings, Ashrataha, taking refuge in that. Pranapana Samayuktaha. So along with Prana and Apana, so the inward breath and the outward breath. Chaturvidham Annam Pachami. So I digest Pachami is I cook, but here you take it as I digest. I digest the 4 kinds of food. What are the 4 kinds of food? Traditionally, bhakshyam, bhojyam, lehyam, and choshyam. So bhakshyam are things that are swallowed, which are, we don't chew it, we just swallow it. That is the bhakshyam. Then bhojyam is the one which we chew and eat. So we are biting, we're chewing it, there's mastication, and then we are eating it. Then foods that are licked, lehya. So again, the word lehya we use for so many times we say this chavanprash, lehya. Lehya actually means something which is consumed by licking. So licking, we say lehya. That has become a generic term for this Ayurvedic medication, right? And choshya, that are sucked, like when you're drinking something, soft drink in a straw. So choshya. So bhakshyam, swallowing, bhojyam, chewing and eating, then lehyam, licking and eating, and choshyam, sucking and taking it in. So all the 4 kinds of food are digested by the Vaishvanaraha. And he says, having entered the bodies of creatures as the digestive fire and working along with the inward and outward breath, because without breathing, there is no question of our body functioning. So, in conjunction with the inward outward breath, I digest the 4 kinds of food. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva.
Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva.
Praninam Deham Ashritaha.
Praninam Deham Ashritaha.
Pranapana Samayuktaha.
Pranapana Samayuktaha.
Pachamyannam Chaturvidham.
Pachamyannam Chaturvidham.
Then sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedantakrit vedavit eva chaham. Another beautiful shloka. He says, I am seated in the hearts of all. I grant memory and knowledge, and I also make them disappear. I know all the Vedas. I am the author of the Upanishads, and I am the one to be known. What is to be known in them? That is me. So, aham sarvasya hridi sannivishtaha cha. I am seated in the hearts of all beings. Mattaha eva smritihi jnanam apohanam cha. It is from me alone that smriti, memory, jnana, knowledge, and apohanam. So, and taking it away. So, I grant memory and knowledge and I take it away. This is one meaning. We'll come to another meaning for this. Ahameva sarvaihi vedaihi vedyah eva vedyah cha. So I am the one to be known in all the way. No, ahameva sarvaihi vedaihi vedyah cha. Ahameva vedantakrit vedavit cha. So ahameva sarvaihi vedaihi vedyah cha. So I am the one who is to be known. I am the Vedya, that which is to be known in all the Vedas and Upanishads. It is me. Ahameva vedantakrit vedavit cha. So I am the author of the Upanishads and I am the knower of the Vedas. I know the Vedas. I am the author of the Upanishads. Okay, so now let us look at this. Mattaha smritihi jnanam apohanam. So apohanam basically means denial or disappear and so on. Now, he grants memory and knowledge and he also takes it back. This is a very nice thing, right? Now, imagine you are remembering everything that has happened from in your life from day one. Is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? You remember everything. For most people, in my opinion, it will be a nightmare where our brain is filled up with the past. We need to function, if we want to function coherently and be sane, we should forget a part of our memory and our knowledge should recede to the background. If we are always remembering everything, then it's going to fill our head and we are we're going to be very troubled. Now, let us say somebody helped us in the past. You're always thinking about that. Oh, I'm so grateful to this person. And you're, you don't do anything else. That's also a problem. Somebody did a bad turn to you. You're always having thoughts of revenge. Not good. So you have gratitude for somebody who has helped you. You have that in the background. You offer your gratitude to them and you have that sense. But you cannot always be talking about that. At the same time, somebody did a bad turn. Either you forgive them or you punish them or do something and then move on with your life. Now, similarly with knowledge, there's so many things, knowledge are there, but they recede in the background. For example, we know that death is certain for us, but do we keep thinking about that every morning, every moment? Oh, someday I'm going to die. Someday I'm going to die. It's not, we don't do that. It is a reality. We know. We know our parents are going to die someday, grandparents are going to die someday. Some of our grandparents already are dead. So we cannot keep thinking about it all the time. We forget it. Yes, okay, I'm going to die someday. No, whenever it happens, let it happen. Doesn't matter. It is going to anyway happen. I can't control it. Let me focus on my work. Let me try to get ananda. So we try to focus on our daily activity. So it's not possible for us, or it will be a nightmare if we remember everything of the past, if all our knowledge, all our memory are in front of us. So Krishna says, I grant memory and knowledge, and I also make them disappear. Right? Another interpretation which we recently came across, Dr. Sri Krishna and myself, we were discussing about this when we prepared the 10th anniversary edition. So then we said there is also another way to look at it. If we divide this word apohanam as apa plus uhanam, then we get the meaning of conjecture or guesswork. So another possibility is I grant memory and knowledge as well as conjecture, as well as guesswork, as well as uha, which is like to assume something, to take a guess, to estimate something, to extrapolate something. However, I think the first meaning has more merit personally, but both these possibilities are there, so seen in one of the commentaries. So the idea is that he grants knowledge and memory and also makes it disappear to help us lead a normal life. Okay. So sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto.
Mattah smritir jnanam apohanancha.
Mattah smritir jnanam apohanamcha.
Vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo.
Vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo.
Vedanta krid vedavideva chaham.
Vedanta krit veda videva chaham.
Dvavimau purushau loke ksharashchakshara evacha ksharah sarvani bhutani kutastokshara uchyate. So there are two entities in the world, kshara and akshara. Kshara consists of all the beings that are basically yet to be liberated. Akshara refers to those that are immutable, that is the liberated beings. So loke in the world, among people, ksharaha cha aksharaha eva cha imau purushau dvau. So there are two kind of people, two kinds of people, two kinds of entities, two kinds of two kinds of entities, kshara and akshara. Kshara basically refers to something that is changing, something that is mutable. Akshara refers to something that is beyond change, that is indestructible, that is it's always there, it's beyond change. So the kshara and akshara are the two entities which are there in the world. Sarvani bhutani, all the beings, ksharaha uchyate. So all the beings, the mortal beings, are known as kshara. And kutastaha aksharaha uchyate. And that which is kuthasta, which is immutable, which is firm, that is akshara. One way of looking at it is that kshara refers to all peoples, all beings that are yet to be liberated. Akshara refers to the liberated being, right? Another way of looking at this verse is to consider kshara as a reference to all the beings and akshara as a reference to the individual atma. So we can look at it both ways. But basically, there's one part of the thing which is changing, which is mutable and yet to be liberated, and the other part which is akshara, which is firm, immutable, beyond change, beyond any modifications, and liberated. Dvavimau purushau loke.
Dvavimau purushau loke.
Ksharaschakshara evacha.
Ksharaschakshara evacha.
Ksharaha sarvani bhutani.
Ksharaha sarvani bhutani.
Kutastokshara uchyate.
कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते.
उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः. So, however, above these two entities, there is a higher principle, the supreme soul, the ultimate person known as the eternal God who sustains and pervades the universe. So, Uttamaha Purushaha to Anyaha. So, beyond this Kshara and Akshara, further transcending both of this is the Uttamaha Purushaha, the higher being, the supreme being. Paramatma iti udahritaha. It is known as the Paramatma. It is known as the Supreme Atman, Supreme Being, Supreme Spirit. Yaha lokatrayam avishya bibharti avyayaha. So it pervades the three words. I told you earlier also the bhu, bhuva, swaha, one way of looking at the three words. So it basically pervades the entire universe, and it sustains the entire universe, and it is immutable. So Vibharti sustains, and Avyayaha, it is imperishable. We saw this notion earlier in the 7th chapter, right? He says, ignorant people think of me only as having a form. They are unaware of my mysterious higher existence, eternal and incomprehensible, incomparable, and hidden by my own yoga maya. I am not, my glory is not revealed to all. And the deluded ones, they do not know me as the unborn and the unending. So Anadi Ananta, they don't know me as that. So he's basically saying that beyond these opposites, the Kshara and Akshara, there is a higher principle, that is me. So Uttamaha Purushastvanyah.
Uttamaha Purushastvanyah
Paramatmetyudahritah
Paramatmetyudahritah
yo lokatrayamavishya
Yo lokatrayamavishya
bibhartyavyaya ishvaraha.
Vibhartyavyaya Ishvaraha.
Yasmat ksharamati-toham aksharaadapi chottamaha atosmi loke vedecha pratitaha purushottamaha. I am beyond Kshara. I am superior to Akshara. So I am respected as the Supreme Spirit by the people and in the Vedas alike. So Yasmat aham Ksharam atitaha Aksharat apicha uttamaha ataha loke vedecha purushottamaha iti pratitaha asmi. So Yasmat, or since I am aham Ksharam atitaha, I am beyond the Ksharam. I am beyond what is changing, beyond what is the mortal. And Aksharat apicha uttamaha, I am superior to Akshara as well, the immutable, the unchanging. Ataha, therefore, loke, in this world of people, and Vede, in the Vedas. So the idea of the higher power is shared both by the wise and the common person. So the laity and the learned share this idea. So loke Vede. So among the people as well as in the Veda, Purushottamaha Prathitaha Asmi. So I am respected as the Purushottama, as the Supreme Spirit in both the Vedas as well as among the common folk. So one more shloka which is like the Vibhuti Yoga. So Yasmat Ksharam Atitoham
Yasmat Ksharamati-toham
Aksharadapi Chottamaha
Aksharadapi Chottamaha
Atosmi Loke Vedecha
Atosmi Loke Vedecha
Prathitaha Purushottamaha.
Prathitaha Purushottamaha.
Yomam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. So one who is free from delusion knows me as the Supreme Spirit. Indeed, he knows all that there is to know, and he wholeheartedly worships me. Now, this is very much like Bhakti Yoga, reminiscent of the 9th chapter, some parts of the 12th chapter, and so on, right? Bharata, descendant of Bharata. Yaha, one who is asammudaha, who is not deluded, free from ignorance. Purushottamam mam janati. He knows me as the Purushottama. He knows me as the Supreme Being. Saha, he sarvavit sarvabhavena bhajati. So he's sarvavit. He knows everything that there is to know. He has got complete knowledge. And sarvabhavena bhajati. He worships me wholeheartedly with complete immersion. Now, we in our tradition, we have this idea of sarvavit, sarvagnya, and so on. So, what is the meaning of sarva? When I was in school, I used to wonder. So, sarvagnya basically means somebody who knows everything. Sarvagnya. Sarva is everything, nya is knowing. So, sarvagnya knows everything. So, there should be, in Kannada, we have a famous poet by the name Sarvagnya, who has written some tripadis, like 3-line verses, very nice didactic verses. So we used to have that in school, and I used to wonder, who is this Sarvagnya? How can he know everything? Does he know my phone number? Does he know my passport number? Does he know, what was published in the Times of India in 1943 on the page 4? If you ask him, does he know that? Does he have the secret password to whatever Mark Zuckerberg's email account? So obviously, that's not the case, right? Just because you are a realized person, if you ask a Buddha, he will not know the password to something. His idea itself is to go beyond the material world. So Sarvagnya means one who knows the most important thing that is to be known, which is the true self. Once that is known, everything else becomes known, in the sense everything else becomes secondary. There is no need. Once I have a knowledge of the self, there is the need for a password, need for some material, factual knowledge ceases. So Sarvagna does not mean he knows everything that there is to know. He's not Google. Google is not Sarvagna, right? So that is a repository of things, and a library is not Sarvagna. Sarvagna means one who has understood the essential knowledge. Okay, so one should not get confused when we see this word. Yeah. So that's what he's basically saying, that he knows whatever is worthy of knowing. Most important thing he knows. Yomam evam asammudha, yomam eva asammudha,
Yomamevamasambhudaha
janati purushottamam,
janati purushottamam
sa sarvavid bhajati mam,
sarvavid bhajati mam
sarva bhavena bharata.
sarva bhavena bharata.
And finally, he says, iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam mayanagha etat buddhva buddhiman syat krita krityascha bharata. Again, very reminiscent of the 9th chapter, right? He says, I have taught you a great truth. One who learns this will become enlightened and will have accomplished everything. So, anagha, sinless one who is free of papa. Iti maya idam guhyatamam shastra muktam. I have told you a very deep secret, great truth. Very profound truth, profound, science. Shastram can be also seen as science. I have taught you a profound science. Bharata, son of the descendant of Bharata. Etat buddhva. Etat buddhva, having known this, having realized this, having learned this, buddhiman krita krityah cha syat. One becomes a buddhiman, one becomes knowledgeable, enlightened, and krita krityah would have accomplished everything. One who knows this, who learns this, would have accomplished everything. So, iti guhyatamam shastram.
Iti guhyatamam shastram
Idamuktam mayanagha.
idamuktam mayanagha
Etad buddhva buddhiman syat.
etad buddhva buddhiman syat
Krita krityascha bharata.
krita krityascha bharata.
So again, when he says krita kritya, he would have accomplished everything, doesn't mean he would have got gold medal in running, he would have got some Olympic medal in all the things. He's accomplished everything. No. Obviously, it's not possible, right? He'll get the first prize in this, and he will become a cricket champion. He'll also become Prime Minister of India. He'll also become President of US. No. Accomplished everything means whatever is worthy of accomplishing in human life, the highest accomplishment is realization of the self. So he would have accomplished that. Having learned this, will become enlightened and realize oneself. And having realized oneself, everything else becomes secondary. Everything else becomes known in that sense. One should not think of it otherwise. So my uncle has shared a nice example for us. Smritir Jnanam Apohanam cha. If when we are eating our food, if we are constantly thinking about what will happen to that food 6 hours later, we can't even put one spoon of food in our mouth, right? We are not thinking about what happens to that 6 hours later. We are thinking about that food at that time. So that just shared on the chat. Okay, good. So we have finished the 14th and 15th adhyaya. Let us try to do a quick recap of the two adhyayas. Thank you, Suresh ji, for reciting today. Let's look at some of the, like a quick overview of what we have. Right? 1 second. Yeah. The 14th chapter starts off with a few shlokas that talk about creation. 1 second. Yeah, they talk about creation and how people who have realized the higher state are beyond creation and destruction and so on. Then he goes on to talk about the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, which are born out of prakriti, and they bind the imperishable atman to the body. So the atma cannot be burnt or dried or killed or cut or anything, but it can be bound. It is bound to the body. So sattva is pure and luminous, free from distress. It binds by attachment to knowledge and serenity. Rajas, which is marked by passion, which is a source of thirst and anxiety, it binds one to indulge in activity. Tamas, which is born of ignorance and delusion, makes one careless, lethargic, sleepy. Then a whole list of qualities are given. Sattva brings happiness, Rajas gives rise to action, Tamas shrouds knowledge and binds one to delusion. At any given point of time, one of the three gunas is predominant in our being at any given time. So we have all the three gunas. At some time or the other, one or the other is predominant. Like when we go to sleep, tamas is predominant. When we are actively working, rajas is predominant. When we are sitting quietly and meditating or just observing nature, sattva is predominant. Like this, different points of time in the day, different gunas will be predominant. Then when the glow of wisdom emanates from the body, sattva is dominant. When rajas is dominant, one is governed by greed and vigor, desire, unrest, constant activity. When one is, when tamas predominates, then darkness, delusion, lethargy, negligence, these are the result of tamas. Similarly, when the atma departs from the body, when we are in the state of sattva, then the atma attains the pure worlds of the wise. When we depart at the stage of rajas, we are born among people who are attached to action. When we die in the state of tamas, one is born among the deluded. Then the fruit of sattva is purity and goodness. The fruit of rajas is pain. Fruit of tamas is ignorance. Then wisdom is born from sattva. Greed is born from rajas. Distraction, ignorance, delusion is born from tamas. Who are in sattva, they go upwards. Who are in rajas, they are in the same status quo. Who are in tamas, they go downwards. And when people realize that the gunas are the driving force in all activities, and when they realize that there is something above the guna, they transcend the gunas, they reach the highest state. And they go beyond birth and death and pain and disease, old age, all these things. Then Arjuna asked Krishna, what is the trait of somebody? What are the traits of a person who has gone beyond the gunas? What is his way of life? How does he go beyond the gunas? And so on. We saw earlier also in the second chapter, a similar question was posed. And this set of 4 verses between 22nd and 25th gives a beautiful summary again. A person who has gone beyond the gunas is not affected by sattva, rajas, tamas. When it is present, now, for example, when we are in deep activity, when we are really working hard, then rajas is predominant. But at that time, he doesn't dislike it when it is there. Similarly, when he is having a nice, relaxation and tamas is predominant, he's not craving for rajas or sattva. Whatever is there, he accepts it without likes and dislikes. He's not distracted. He stands firm. He remains calm, unaffected by the gunas because he understands the mechanism of how the gunas work. He's the same towards pleasure and pain. The gold, mud, and stone make no difference to him. He regards praise and criticism alike. He regards friend and foe alike, honor and dishonor. He's above all selfish pursuits. Yes, that's how he goes beyond the gunas. So he's a samadarshi who treats everything as the same, but the actual behavior in life is based on what is appropriate for the situation. Finally, he says, one who sincerely worships me with the path of devotion crosses the barriers of guna and becomes ready to attain the Brahman. I am the Brahman, the immortal, the imperishable, the eternal dharma, and the absolute bliss. This is what he says in the 14th Adhyaya. It's an interesting story I'll tell you when we will look at the 15th Adhyaya tomorrow. So, once I had gone to meet the great novelist, Dr. S.L. Bhairappa. He's India's greatest novelist. I also mentioned one of his novels in the previous class. So he had written, I think sometime 10, 15 years back, he had written a novel, and that attracted some amount of criticism by a class of people. Certain people were, it was kind of a novel which brought, what do you say, the harsh realities of the situation of men in marriages, which is not a very, top, which is not discussed very often. Most of the time, we discuss about how women are troubled in marriage. It is also a large number. Anyway, he spoke about how this happens, and then there was some lot of criticism from some feminist groups and things like that. So one particular person had written a very scathing review, and he was remembering that, and he was telling it gone with a few of our friends. He was saying, this lady had written a very, very virulent article about it. And when this came to him, he said, I was not disturbed at all. I was thinking, what is the mind of the person? What is going on in their mind that they find this unpalatable? So he said, I tried to find out the background of the person and try to understand why this was happening rather than getting perturbed. Oh, this person has criticized my work, he's a bad person. No, rather than that, why are they, what is motivating them? Because when there is a criticism, if it is a very objective criticism, right? Say you've used a wrong adverb here, or your plot is weak here, or this characterization is weak, then it is a very straightforward criticism, which can be, you can show it in kind of black and white. But when the criticism is driven by emotion, and I didn't like this at all, I don't like this novel, I don't like you, if this is the kind of criticism, then he says, what is the mindset that works behind this person? And he wanted to find out. And then it turns out the person who was criticizing themselves were in a bad marriage and they had a difficult time and everything. So that background was the reason why they wrote this virulent piece of thing against this novel, because it was too close to home in some sense. So like that, when we see things from an objective point of view, rather than getting perturbed by it, that is very, very important. So a person, why I narrated this small anecdote is because a person like Bhairappa, being such a great novelist, he doesn't look at things, he doesn't take this thing personally. He looks at everything as characters. And because he is so involved in trying to visualize and create characters, he has to understand the workings of human nature. And who better than him to go plumb the depths of human nature? So therefore, rather than seeing this person is so and so attacking me and that ego and thing coming in the way, this type of person is attacking this type of novel. That means there is some background story. Let us find out what is driving it. So sometimes when we go to understand why somebody is angry with us, then we may even feel that they are justified, that we may not have done anything wrong, but because their anger is justified because of the circumstances that they are placed. Maybe they had a bad day at work, maybe they had some trouble, somebody in their house is not well or whatever, and therefore they were reacting in this manner. So then we see that, okay, they are angry with me. Actually, they're not angry with me. They're angry with something else which is directed towards me. So it is okay. When we are able to see similarly in our own lives that the gunas are having interplay, this like you are sitting in a planetarium and watching all the stars, like that you are seeing within yourself, oh, this sattva and rajas are having some fight, let them have a fight, I will wait and play it out. Okay, this is what is happening inside me. When you're able to detach from yourself and observe like a third party, that is what is contemplation. That is what is introspection. So this, he talks about this idea of understanding the manner in which the gunas work, and once he understands that, he remains unaffected by it, right? So the, if you get a fever, the person who is a normal person may get scared, but a doctor says, oh, fever, I know what's happening in the body, this is the fever, nothing to worry, I'll take one simple paracetamol, go to sleep, it'll be fine. Whereas in the case of a normal person who is not a doctor, we are worried, we don't know what is really happening, body is hot, what is happening, fever. So with the knowledge, we become more, the knowledge should lead us to more calmness and serenity. That is the role of knowledge. Okay, very good. So we've done the 15th chapter today. We'll review that tomorrow and get started with the sixth. No, tomorrow there's no class. Sorry, by on Monday India time, we will resume after the weekend. Then we'll do the 16th and 17th chapter. After which, let us have a short introduction session of everybody, if it works. If once we finish the 17th chapter, let's have one session, maybe, or two sessions at the most, just so that we can all introduce ourselves, just to know, what's our background, and just a little bit of introduction, and then we'll go to the 18th chapter. After which, we'll probably do a quick summary of the Gita and some other things, some special things I've planned for you, which I'll tell you when the time comes. So take care, have a nice weekend, and we will catch up very soon. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste, sir.